Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is PokeDC Gamer here, back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over my my CPC Season 4 Majors draft analysis. I definitely, I'm not sure how good this draft is going to be, but I definitely like it. I kind of planned it on the go. Like, I didn't come in with a draft plan, but I do feel really confident with this team. Especially my first 4 picks, I feel like they synergize really well. As not that type synergy is always the most important thing, but with my first 3 mons, I have a resistance to every type in the game, which is pretty nice. Obviously, like, there's gonna be mons that have coverage for everything, but when we come to that, we can deal with that. So first up, the first mon that we chose to draft, and by the way, if you guys do not know, the CPC, you get 110 points. You can draft a minimum of 9 mons, and you can also draft a maximum of 10 mons. So we kind of took that into consideration as we go, but the first pick, obviously cost isn't going to matter yet. We just take what we feel we want and what we can use well, and this is a Pokemon I have not had a chance to use yet, and that is Celesteela. And one reason that I chose to use Celesteela is actually for a couple reasons. One, it is a very balanced, like its stats are very balanced. Can get a beast boost in every stat. I think it might not be able to get one in speed, but if it can, that would be pretty cool. So it can get a beast boost in every stat. It can go offensive or defensive. It has things like Protect and Leech Seed and Toxic. Obviously, it doesn't have recovery. Its recovery is Leech Seed. But even with Leech Seed, Protect, and Leftovers, that's pretty decent residual recovery. And it can also go offensive because it has things like Autotomize, and it has really great coverage like Steel and Flying Double Stabs. It's basically a good offensive Starmie that can go mixed because it has good physical and special coverage. Has things like Energy Ball, Fire Blast, Earthquake. They have things like Magnezone, Heatran, Rock Slide, Stone Edge. I mean, its coverage is pretty limited to Rock, Ground, Double Stabs, Fire, and Grass, but that coverage itself is pretty nice. So, main reason why I picked up Celesteela, a defensive Steel type is always nice, and when it can go offensive too, makes it even better. And this is the mon that we actually decided to make our Z-Move mon. I will go over at the end kind of why I chose this over a few other things on my team, but I felt that this was the best fit for the Z-Move, as if you could Autotomize, Z-Moves can just blow things back if you can outspeed them, which is pretty nice. So the next Pokemon that we decided to pick is none other than Megalodios. Definitely one of the best Megas in the format when it's allowed. Some leagues do not allow Megalodios. All leagues that I know of don't allow Megalodios. Both of them are just huge threats, mainly because they're so bulky that it's very hard to kill either one of them with one hit, even if it's super effective. The hit usually has to be like Bandit or Specs, and even then, Megalodios has decent speed, so it's gonna outspeed a lot of things that can kill it. Like, just for example, like Life Orb Bisharp fails to KO a Megalodios, which is just insane. But it gives me a defogger, which I'm not sure how often I'm going to use it as that. Obviously, it has solid recovery with Roost. It is another mon that can go mixed. It has things like Calm Mind, and also has Dragon Dance to boost either its special attack or its attack. And it has solid coverage for most things. Like, it has Shadow Ball for things like Jirachi or Bronzong, who resist my double stabs. It has things like Earthquake for things like a Heatran or Magnezone that resist my double stab. It gets the coverage like Energy Ball. It gets Ice Beam. It gets some other cool techs, like it gets double screens. Obviously, it gets Memento if I want to Memento into like a Autotomized Celesteela if I'm in a position to do that. Gets things like Thunderbolt. It's one of the best Bolt Beam users in the game. Can Calm Mind, Bolt Beam, Roost, like very hard to stop. has Tailwind, Surf, just a lot of coverage moves. And I just can't wait to use this thing to its full potential. I know that's going to be very good, and in our Week 1 matchup, which I'll also talk about at the end, it has a very nice matchup. So in the next Pokemon that we decided to pick is one that covered a weakness that the team was starting to develop. Obviously, Celesteela is not weak to Ghost or Dark, but it's not going to appreciate things like say like a banded knockoff from something. So we do have Megaladios, which can take knockoffs, but I still want to get a solid resist to Dark and Ghost types, because Ghost types are just a very, very big threat to many teams, as there's not many resistances to them. And one typing that resists both Ghost and Dark is a Dark type. And I didn't have a Rocker yet, and this Pokemon just looked to be a perfect fit, and that's why I chose Crocodile. So Crocodile obviously gets rocks. It has Intimidate. Intimidate is a very useful ability. It has Moxie if I wanted to run it as a Choice Scarfer. But like I said, it gives me a very, very solid rocker in my eyes. There is definitely certain typings that I feel utilize berries very well, and ground types are one that I think utilize berries very effectively. I can pursue Ghost types, which is pretty nice. It can run like Life Orb, Bandage, Choice Scarf. Can run a lot of things. This is another mon I was considering to use as my Z move mon, but I didn't. I decided not to do that. It gets Taunt, can stop other rockers from setting up their rocks, and that's pretty much it. It resists Ghost, it can pursue Ghost types, it can set my rocks, and it can just be, it can even be defensive with because of it has Intimidate. So that's gonna be it for Crocodile. So next up, I was gonna patch up one of my last weaknesses I had. At this point, I had a resistance to every typing except for Ice. I have 2 Pokemon weak to Ice, and I have another neutral to it. So I wanted to pick up something that obviously resists Ice. I wanted to pick up a bulky water type at this point in the draft, as it was in the 4th round. It's starting to become apparent that it was about the time that the price range of bulky waters was starting to be right for them to be picked, and this one I just really like. I've also never used it in the draft format, but I do have experience with it, using it in like laddering. So we decided to pick up Suicune, which it can run a lot of things. Obviously it has Calm Mind, Rest Talk, Scald. This is a very standard one, but if you don't prep for it, it can be very, very annoying. It has Pressure, which is a very useful ability. It's actually one of the most underrated abilities in my eyes. And it actually has decent coverage. It could be ran offensive with things like Calm Mind, Ice Beam, Surf, and it has access to a lot of hidden powers. It's a very, very bulky mon. It can be run defensive, especially defensive, and it can phase things out with Roar. It can set up a Tailwind, maybe even for some other things. Since my team isn't the fastest so far, we do have 2 Tailwind mons so far. And that's pretty much it for Suicune. Just a very, very bulky mon. Can be hard to kill if you don't have a Grass or Electric type, or even the coverage for it. So yeah, that's pretty much Suicune. Just can be a very, very annoying mon. So next up, I really wanted a Ghost type. I was looking for more of an offensive Ghost type, and another thing was I wanted Dragon Immunity. Obviously I have a Dragon Resist already with the Steel type, but Dragon Immunities are always nice. Ghost types are always nice to spin block, and a Fairy type would complete my Steel Dragon's Fairy Core. So I decided to go with Mimikyu, which is it's definitely a pretty cool Pokemon. Obviously, most of the time it's going to be ran offensive, but you could see me bring some like a defensive one with Will-O-Wisp, or maybe like Rest Hog or something. But its double stabs with Ghost and Fairy are very threatening. It gets Swords Dance, so it can set up a Swords Dance and go in with things like Shadow Claw and Play Rough. It can Destiny Bond things if it needs to. It can also run double screens. Actually, it doesn't get Reflect, but it does get Light Screen. It actually has Taunt. It's a pretty fast Taunter, which is pretty nice. Its coverage is not the best, but It does get all 3 status moves in Thunder Wave, Toxic, and Will-O-Wisp. Gets things like Wood Hammer for coverage, Leech Life, I guess. Not much for coverage, but Swords Dance will definitely boost its double stabs, which its double stabs are resisted by by very few mons. And its ability Disguise is another reason I took it, just because Disguise is it's such a great ability. You guarantee switch into anything once, unless it's like Mold Breaker, which is it could be very, very useful. So next up, I wanted to pick a fast mon for sure. So I was looking down the tier list, and I definitely wanted to get a poison type at some point. Being able to absorb T-Spikes is always going to be very good. I also want a fire type, just because offensive fire types, I think they're very good in the draft format. And a speedy offensive fire type that was also a poison type was still on the board, which is why I decided to choose Salazzle. So Salazzle, very, very speedy with a base 117 speed, outspeeding pretty much it's definitely going to outspeed every base 115. I don't think there's any base 116s in the game, but correct me if I'm wrong. It gets some pretty cool coverage moves. Obviously, its double stabs in fire and poison are very powerful, but it also has a pretty cool ability called Corrosion. So if one week I'm noticing like I want to be able to poison like a Toxapex in the opposing team, if that's going to be annoying, I can run Corrosion and Toxic and be able to Toxic any poison type that I want, or also any steel type that I want, which is very nice. So it also gets coverage like Dragon Pulse hit dragon types. I guess I could even run it with like Fake Out for chip damage. It gets Knockoff, and it gets Nasty Plot to boost its special attack, which obviously it's mainly going to be a special attacker. But it also gets some cool attacks like Taunt and Will-O-Wisp to be able to nerf physical attackers if I need to. And that's pretty much it for Salazzle. It's pretty straightforward, very offensive, fast fire type, which I definitely think my team appreciated. Okay, so next up we have a Pokemon that I wasn't really sure on what to pick at this point. I definitely wanted a fighting type, just because I feel like fighting types are some of the best breakers in the draft format. And I didn't have a fighting type at this point, obviously. And this Pokemon, it really appealed to me, and this Pokemon is Heracross. It has amazing double stabs in bug and fighting. And it gets really good coverage, obviously, with things like Stone Edge, Earthquake. It gets Knockoff to hit like ghost types. It gets Pursue if you want to pursue a fast ghost type, I guess. And obviously it gets Swords in it to boost its attack. And it also has two solid abilities in Guts and Moxie. So with the Burn nerf, you could run a Flame Orb, and you can always take only 6% a turn. And you can Swords Dance with the Guts boost. And then Moxie, you could run a Scarf Moxie set, just like the Crocodile, which late game Scarf Moxie mons are it's like one of my favorite cleaners late game, as they can really do work if you weaken the team enough. So that's pretty much it for Heracross. Once again, another pretty straightforward offensive mon. But if I need to, I could run it defensive. It gets things like Bulk Up to boost its defense, and I guess it could be run defensive sometimes, but it does have that 4x weakness to flying. So next up, I did want I wanted a Toxic Spiker and a Spiker, and originally I did want Roserade, but that was actually the only mon that got sniped for me during the draft. Roserade would have fit pretty nicely since it gave me a Grass type, and it also gave me a Toxic Spiker and a Spiker, but that did get sniped for me. And I did see another mon that was much cheaper than Roserade and also got the same utility, and that mon was Garbodor. So Garbodor, obviously it gets Toxic Spikes and Spikes, but it also gave me another resistance to things like fighting types. It gets Aftermath, which is a pretty cool ability. So if someone hits me with a physical attack and I die, then they'll take 25%. I could run it as a Suicide Lead with Hazards and Explosion. gets things like haze to stop any setup users, and it gets decent coverage. You could run it mixed depending on the opponent's team, as it does get some cool special moves, and obviously it gets physical moves like Gunk Shot, Drain Punch, Explosion, and then Rock Blast. But that's pretty much it for Garbodor. Another pretty straightforward pick. I wanted I wanted to finish off the hazards that I wanted in Spikes and T-Spikes, and Garbodor did give me that. So next up we have, at this point in the draft, I wanted to get a Volt Blocker, a second Volt Blocker, as well as a second Rocker. And a couple mons did fit that bill. And kind of regrettably after the draft, I kind of regretted this pick because Stunfisk actually didn't get picked, and that it might have been a better fit over this Pokemon. But I ended up picking Rhydon. Now, Rhydon isn't the best Pokemon Elite Four just because it has a 4 times weakness to 2 types, but it did give me a Stealth Rocker, and it also gave me it's actually a pretty cool offensive mon because its attack is 130. That's the same as Mamoswine, so it's very hard. Eviolite makes it pretty bulky, and it can run things like Rock Polish and Swords Dance, which is pretty cool. Not much else to say. It just gave me a second Rocker, which I definitely appreciate. Like, I don't want to be forced to run rocks on Crook every week. So at this point, I only had 6 points left, and I didn't really want. I was looking at some of the lower than 6-point mons, and I didn't really like my options of picking 2 more mons. So I just wanted to get a Pokemon that would patch up a weakness versus some of my divisional opponents, which I have to play my divisional opponents twice. And this Pokemon matches up pretty good versus a lot of the people I have to play this season, and that Pokemon is Electivire. So Electivire, it's a pretty balanced mon, or it's a pretty balanced mon as far as its EVs. Has decent defenses with 75 HP, 67 defense is not that good, and then 85 Spit F. It's a very good Assault Vest mon because of the coverage that it gets, and it also can go mixed. And it also gets Volt Switch to gain me momentum. But another thing it gets is Motor Drive, which another electric immunity I definitely did appreciate, especially since my 2 current electric immunities are weak to things like grass moves and water moves. So this definitely helps out. And it gets a lot of coverage. Like I said, it gets obviously it's stab. It gets a lot of fighting coverage. Fire Punch and Flamethrower, gets all the punches. It can even run double screens. It gets Rock Slide. It gets Taunt too, a decently fast Taunter again. But actually, guys, that's gonna be it for this. That's pretty much all I have to say about Electivire. So that is my draft. I'm just gonna go over it really quickly again. We have Celesteela, Megalodios, Crocodile, Suicune, Mimikyu, Salazzle, Heracross, Garbodor, Rhydon, and Electivire. Now, I'm not sure when this is going to go up, but it should go up before the 24th, because the 24th is when we upload Week 1 battles. So I'm very much looking forward to this season. I really like my team. And that's pretty much all I got to say, guys. So if you like my team, definitely comment down below, tell me what you guys think about it, and definitely drop a like if you guys enjoyed. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm signing off. Peace.